It's Patrick, founder of Screenplay app, the app for student screenwriters. Every week, I'll take a different article from the Screenplay app blog and share with you in audio form. Camera directions in your screenplay. Including camera directions in the screenplay is ultimately the writer's choice. Putting camera directions in your screenplay is one of those things that some people in Hollywood frown upon, especially if you're a novice screenwriter. Camera direction in a screenplay are typically reserved for a production version of a screenplay, or what is referred to as a shooting script. Camera directions typically describe where the camera is positioned in any given scene, or the angle at which the camera is supposed to be during a particular scene. The terms medium, wide angle, or close-up are also considered camera directions. There's a reason most professionals in Hollywood advise writers to avoid adding camera directions. The primary reason is that it can take away from the actual story. If you plan to write, produce, and direct your short film, pilot, or feature, then adding camera direction is not that bad of an idea, since this is your vision that you will be executing. However, this is directed at screenwriters who do not plan to direct their own projects. As you read Hollywood-produced screenplays, you notice that some have camera directions and others do not. These writers have earned the right to do whatever they want in their screenplays because they have passed the test and have made it this far in their careers. Since you are just starting your journey to being a professional screenwriter, it's best to try to avoid adding camera directions as much as you can in your screenplay. What to do as a novice screenwriter. When you are new to any art form, you might not be sure how to best produce your particular artwork. Sometimes there might be unwritten rules you're not aware of. What makes creating art great is the freedom an artist has to create her art however she chooses. Screenwriting is an art form, despite some of the awful movies that might have been born out of some screenplays. But art is subjective anyway, so maybe there are no such things as bad art. Just ask the people who enjoyed From Justin to Kelly or any other badly reviewed film. It's best to avoid adding camera directions in your screenplay until you're comfortable with the basics of screenwriting. The basics include establishing stakes, creating conflicts and tension, learning character arcs, amongst others. Are camera directions that bad? It's all subjective, and it depends on your reader. If your reader gets irritated by the near mention of camera direction in a screenplay, then chances are it will be bad for you. However, if the reader can look past the technical issues to find excellent characters and a delightful story, then things will not look that bad. The consensus amongst Hollywood people who will read your screenplay is that they prefer not to have camera directions, especially from a new writer who has yet to master the art of storytelling. As previously mentioned, there are always exceptions. It's up to you to find a good balance, and better yet, to get into the habit early on, writing without a lot of camera directions if you can avoid it. One particular reason camera directions in a screenplay are frowned upon is the ability to take the reader out of the story. Just imagine if you're watching your favorite show or television series, and while you're engaged in this intense scene, the camera person pops their head out to change the lens in the middle of the scene. What would that do to you? Maybe it's not that extreme, but to a reader who is reading your screenplay and is highly engaged, this might be the experience. Camera directions take your reader out of the fantasy world you created. Once you have them in that world, try to keep them in and avoid reminders that this is not real and that they're reading a screenplay. That's what camera directions tend to do, and is one reason Hollywood says to avoid them. Finding a medium. There is always a way to find a medium when it comes to the debate of whether one should use camera directions in their screenplay. If you're finding it difficult to write without including a few close-ups or medium shots here and there, then adding a couple is alright. Maybe you have a particular object you want to put emphasis on. In that case, writing close-up for that particular item is perfectly fine. There might also be a situation where you want to focus attention on a particular character by writing angle on that particular character. Little things like that will not take away from your screenplay. If done right and not overused, then that's finding a medium. What you should try to avoid is adding specific types of lens in your action lines, or including the type of film stock. Avoid being too technical with your camera directions. There are screenwriters who are very technical when it comes to the shots they write. Most of the time, these screenwriters are already established or are writer-directors. If you are not any of those, then avoid getting too technical when writing your screenplay. Your primary focus is telling a great story and developing memorable characters. You do have the right to ignore everything said here and other places. There are no official rules on this stuff. Maybe the screenplay you write is enhanced because of the technical language you add to it. Or maybe you have a special way of finding that medium that works great. Whether or not you decide to use camera directions in your screenplay, do not lose sight of writing a great story. Ultimately, that will be the only thing your reader cares about.